sugar. Perhaps even worse than giving up desserts and treats was that Elmer had been forced to give up sugar in his coffee. While Edna didn't mind drinking her coffee black, Elmer fussed about that almost as much as he fussed about giving up cookies and pies. "Well, I sure do think Dr. Graham knows a spell more than you do about your heart." Elmer scowled. "Bah! Now don't you bah me," she scolded playfully. He turned to the sink and began to wash his hands. "So what are you girls making today anyway?" She was surprised that he asked that question. Whenever her friends, Mary Ropp, Wilma Schwartz, and Verna Bontrager came over, they always baked the same thing. Why, cookies, of course. Twice a month, the four women gathered to bake different types of cookies for the fellowship meal that followed the Sunday worship service. They had started the tradition when Wilma's twins, Rachel and Ella May, turned 16 and began their Rumspringa. Wilma had taken quite a turn, falling into a blue mood without her youngest daughters spending their free time at home. An empty house began evolving into an empty heart. The truth was that none of them had little ones at home anymore. The realization that this phase of motherhood had ended and a new one had begun distressed all of them, but none more so than Wilma. It was Edna who came up with the idea to meet on the Fridays before church Sundays. She'd sat down, written each of her 3 best friends a letter, and detailed her idea for gathering twice a month to bake cookies. After all, she had written, they needed each other for support. And what better way to provide that than meeting on a regular basis? Besides, who didn't love cookies? And there was no better way to give each other support than to bake together. They would fill cookie sheet after cookie sheet with freshly made dough, usually sugar or oatmeal cookies, but sometimes they'd choose another equally delicious recipe, and bundle them up in storage containers to bring to their respective worship services. All 3 of the women readily agreed with Edna's plan. After all, it was a great reason not only to spend time together, but to support each other as well. Elmer and Edna lived on an old farm that was farther from town, while the other 3 women lived closer to Shipshawana. Only Verna and Mary lived in the same church district, so the 4 of them rarely saw one another except for these 2 precious Fridays each month. "No sense in trying to talk you into making those oatmeal cookies, I reckon." Edna laughed at her husband. "Nay, Elmer, you know that the little ones always ask for sugar cookies. It's expected, I suppose." "Woe to the kin who prefer oatmeal cookies to sugar cookies," Elmer groaned. "Well, then, I best be making myself scarce, then. Wouldn't want to get in the way of you women folk." He dried his hands on a dish towel, then draped it over the sink. "You need anything from town?" "Yeah, I do." Edna scurried over to the break front and opened a drawer. "Annie's supposed to be finished with that quilt back she's piecing for me." Elmer raised an eyebrow. "Another quilt? Land's sake, Edna, you have the energy of 10 men. She ignored the compliment. "I'm making this one for Jacob and Mary's baby. Might you stop by Jennifer's shop and see if Annie dropped it off? If so, give Jennifer this envelope and bring home the package." She didn't wait for his response, as she handed him a plain white envelope. "And don't lose that. It's cash." Elmer frowned. "One time, Edna. Just one time. Will you ever let me live that down?" She smiled and leaned over, placing a soft kiss on his cheek. "Never." "That's what I thought." He slid the envelope into his back pocket and then patted it, as if to reassure his